Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. And a very warm welcome to this Kickstart webinar, where we will talk about a crucial element of your exam preparation, and that is question practice. My name is Martin, and I work as Education Support Manager here at ACCA. And I'm joined by ACCA's Education Support Lead, Sonia Weston, who will be delivering this session. Now, before we get on with matters question practice, I'm sure you're all aware that we have recently announced our plans for redesigning the ACCA qualification. Now, we know you have lots of questions about the structure of the future exams and what that means for your own ACCA journey. We won't be able to address those questions in today's webinar, but you'll find all the information you need on our future qualification section of our website. And we've also recently delivered a webinar explaining these changes, and that webinar is available to watch on demand via the link that we will post in the chat shortly. Now, please note that the first exams in the redesigned qualification will not be introduced until 2027. And regardless of where you are on the qualification journey at that time, you will benefit from the changes that we are making. So we strongly encourage all of you to actively continue your studies and progress your journey to membership to ensure that you don't miss out on the benefits of becoming an ACCA member. Now, having said that, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items that will be useful for you in this session. There are a number of buttons on your screen that you can use in this webinar. You will see a help icon on the left that provides resources and information to help you resolve any technical issues that you might experience. You'll need to see both the icons for the slides and the media player because the content will be running on those two. So just ensure that you've selected them. There is an attendee chat function, which you can use to engage with fellow webinar attendees. And please note that that's a public forum, so do not share any personal details such as phone numbers and email addresses. There's a resource list, the icon that looks like a file symbol. And if you click on that, you'll be able to access the resources relevant to today's webinar, including the direct links to any pages or resources that we talk about. Please feel free to rearrange your screen to suit you. You can resize the windows if you need to. And just in case you can't hear what we are saying or you can't see the visuals at any point, it usually helps to refresh your browser. Now, in case you miss out on any part of the webinar, the recording of this session will be available. You will receive an email tomorrow with the link. So don't worry too much if for whatever reason you miss out on any part of the session. Now, we'll also take a few minutes towards the end to answer your questions. So just to encourage you to put in your questions bright and early, there's a Q&A button that we will be monitoring for your questions and responding to those in the back end. So please take the chance to ask your question, and we'll try as much as possible to answer as many questions as we possibly can within the time that we have, and hopefully we can get those sorted for you. So thank you so much once again for joining the session today. I hope it's going to be a fruitful session, and we'll move on swiftly, and I'm going to hand over to Sonia now.
Great. Thank you, Martin, for that introduction, and welcome all of you to this question practice masterclass. As Martin said, my name is Sonia Weston. I'm the Education Support Lead here at ACCA, leading a team that ensures you get the support you need in order to obtain exam success. Do pop in the chat where you are joining us from today. I can see many of you have done so already, and I'm going to jump in the chat shortly and give a few shout outs. So still time to get your name mentioned. Now, as a fellow member of ACCA, I have been in your position. I know the challenges faced as an ACCA student, and I went on to become an ACCA tutor. So I have also taught many ACCA students over the years. And today I am going to share some of the best practices relating to question practice, which I used in the classroom and which I instilled in my students. So maybe you're new to ACCA or you're an existing student, you've decided what exam you're going to take, and hopefully you have booked your exam and you are about to get started. In today's session, I'll be discussing why incorporating question practice into your study schedule is crucial when studying for ACCA exams, especially compared to study methods many of us may have used for other qualifications or for our academic degrees. So, many of you on this call today, for example, may have other qualifications, may be holders of degrees. Now, while studying for a degree, the focus is often more so on understanding theories and concepts. However, ACCA exams call for a more practical approach, as you're required to apply your learning to practical case study scenarios. Consistent question practice not only helps reinforce your knowledge, but it also develops your exam technique and application skills, your time management skills, and you're able then to confidently go into that exam with the ability to apply these concepts you've learned in real world scenarios. So targeted question practice can make a significant difference in your exam performance and overall success on the ACCA qualification. So before I get started, I am just going to quickly go to the chat and give a few shout outs as promised. So hi Suzanne from Manchester in the UK. We've got Archana and VJ joining us from India, Jacqueline from Joburg, South Africa, Farai just across the border in Zimbabwe. We've got Blaga from London. We've got Naresh and Jana, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, joining us from India. Crispin from Kenya, Sharmila from Bangladesh. We've got people from Malta. Hi, Malcolm. We've got Rebecca from Uganda, Ajmal from Dubai. Where else do we got? Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Ming Lee. And Flora from Singapore. We've got Naleo from Namibia. Maram from Bahrain. Suzanne from Ireland. Who else do we have? Any other countries I've not mentioned? Stephen from Sierra Leone. Saku from Cote d'Ivoire. We have Wendy from Barbados. Simethe from Lesotho. We've got Zuvarashe from Botswana. Nathan, welcome all the way from Cape Town there. We've got Jansi from Cameroon. We've got joiners from Cambodia. Thai from Cambodia. Beth from Scotland. Emilian from Poland. So we have Mohammed from Egypt. So we have global representation on this call today. And you are all very much welcome. Right, so let's get started and let's have a look at how you can effectively integrate question practice into your study routine and make the most out of your preparation. So before I get right into the detail, I want to give you a brief overview of the key stages of your ACCA study journey. So understanding these stages on the way to your exam will help you incorporate the right type of question practice and structure your preparation effectively. So as you start your journey, you should take time to get to know your exam, as knowing what to expect is crucial for effective planning. Next, you move on to your learning stage, where you will focus on building a strong foundation of technical knowledge, so ensuring you understand the concepts, the theories, and principles covered in the syllabus. You then go on to deepen your knowledge, and you do this by starting to apply your knowledge to practice questions, before moving on to the revision and question practice phase, where you further go on to consolidate your learning through more intensive question practice. And then finally, as the exam approaches, you fine-tune your exam strategy during your final stage of preparation. Now, I'm going to take you through these stages in more detail shortly. But before we get into the intricacies of question practice and how you should incorporate it into each of these stages, I want to share the key platforms that you will need to become familiar with and engage with during your journey. And I'm going to be sharing some very interesting stats. So question practice underpins your entire journey. Now, many of you will have heard about the ACCA practice platform, and many of you have already used it. If you're a user of the practice platform, if you're planning on using it, then just give us a thumbs up, because this is truly a fantastic resource that will be crucial in your study journey. Now, I'm going to pause for a minute because I understand that some of you may have experienced some intermittent issues recently with the practice platform. Now, we are aware of this unfortunate set of circumstances, and we are currently addressing these issues. So apologies, and so sorry if you were one of the small number of users who were affected by these issues, but I assure you that we are working on it. So do continue to use the platform, as we've conducted analysis, and we know, I can say with certainty, that students who have used the practice platform to prepare for their exams perform so much better. So do not be put off by these issues. We are doing our very best to address these, and we are hoping they will be fully resolved shortly. Right, so this continues to be a fantastic, crucial resource. And what it is, for those of you that are not familiar with the practice platform, it's an online tool designed to help you prepare for your exams effectively. Now, what does it contain? You will find past exam papers, and these help you understand the types of questions that are typically asked in your exam. You'll also find specimen exams. These highlight the exam formats, the question styles, and they're really great for familiarizing yourself with what to expect on the actual exam day. Also has practice tests. Now, these are great for getting used to the exam environment, so getting used to the screens, getting used to time management, and the all-important mock exams. Send a heart emoji if you are a mock exam user, because without sufficient question practice, you run the risk of entering your exam unprepared. So these mock exams should be an essential part of your final exam preparation. Great to see the heart emojis coming up. So the platform also contains marking and feedback tools. So you can practice marking your own answers, or you can get them marked by your tutor on the platform to understand how your responses are scored. And this will help you learn what examiners are looking for in an answer, and more importantly, how to improve your answers. So using this platform on a regular basis will help you become more comfortable with the exam environment, improve time management, and help you to refine your answering technique. So see it as an opportunity to test drive your exam. Now, I will come back to the resources I've mentioned shortly, and I will guide you on which resource on this platform you should use at which stage of your study journey. But another platform that you should be familiar with is the Study Hub. Now, if you are a user of the Study Hub, then please do send up a heart emoji, because this is a free online learning platform designed to support you throughout your ACCA journey. So on the Study Hub, you will find comprehensive study materials, and this is in the form of a digital textbook for each exam. And this textbook will cover the entire syllabus in depth. You will find topic explainer videos, which are short videos taking you through complex areas of the syllabus. You will find interactive learning modules in the form of quizzes and other interactive content on the study hubs. So these are all designed to make learning more engaging and effective. And of course, you will find revision aids like flashcards. In addition to these resources, you will find a variety of practice questions. This includes your multiple choice questions, your objective response questions, your constructive response, scenario-based questions. So you will find a wealth of questions on the Study Hub, and these help you to test your knowledge and apply what you have learned. So in short, it provides resources for all your study needs, offering a wide range of tools and materials to help you prepare effectively for your exams. So if you are not familiar with the Study Hub, do take some time to explore the Hub and see what it has to offer. Now, just to note, we are not saying that the Study Hub should replace your learning partner. So if you are able to study with a learning partner, then that has to be your number one choice, because nothing beats having that real-time feedback and guidance as you study. But if you are unable to get to a learning partner for whatever reason, then do make full use of the Study Hub. Or another option is to not only attend your learning partner, but also make use of the Study Hub, giving you the best of both worlds. Now, what have we found? We have found that students that engage with the Study Hub and the practice platform achieve a pass rate of 60%. That is in the region of 13% more than non-platform users. So think about it. What do you have to lose? You've got everything to gain and you've got nothing to use by engaging with our Study Hub and practice platform. So really consider incorporating those fully into your study plan if you haven't already done so. And by fully, I mean not just popping in and out, but really going in and taking time to go through the resources. Now, today I'm going to focus on question practice and what questions you should use where. Right, so let's move on. So remember, I took you on the journey initially, and the first stage is getting to know your exam. So you start by reviewing the syllabus. Now, the syllabus document can be found on the ACCA website in the Student Resource Finder. And the syllabus will help you identify the core topics for the exam you're studying, the weightings of the content covered in your exam, and the learning outcomes. Now, what I have found is that students often ignore the learning outcomes and dive straight into the studies text. But I strongly advise that you pay attention to the learning outcomes, because these outcomes define what you should be able to do after studying each topic. So use them as a guide to the areas of your study focus. So familiarize yourself with the key resources, what's available, because I know there are a lot of resources available on the internet, but my advice to you is to ensure that they are ACCA approved, because this is going to guarantee that they cover the syllabus fully and accurately. And then, of course, while you're getting to know your exam, you should be creating a study plan. So outline your timeline, your specific goals, break down your study sessions into manageable chunks to ensure you cover all topics systematically. So next, it's crucial that you understand the exam format. So learn about the structure of the exam, understand the different types of questions you will encounter. So will my exam be multiple choice, objective response, scenario-based questions? It's really important to fully familiarize yourself with the types of questions and the distribution of marks across these question types. So how many marks will be objective response? How many marks will be scenario based? So have a look at how the exam is divided into sections. For example, ACCA exams often have distinct sections. So section A, section B, section C, and each of these sections will have different types of questions and varying weightings towards your total exam mark. So be aware of the format of your exam, and of course be mindful of the duration of your exam, so how long your exam is. Now, to achieve this, you can refer to the specimen exams available on the practice platform, as they will provide insight into exam format. They will provide you with a realistic preview of the actual exam format. So by reviewing these specimen exams, you can see how questions are structured, how sections are organized, and how marks are allocated. Secondly, they allow you to familiarize yourself with the question styles and types that you will meet in the exam. So use them to get used to the types of questions that you will be asked. And, it will help you to understand, how scenario-based questions are framed or how objective response questions are presented, both of which are crucial for effective exam preparation. So by thoroughly understanding the exam format, the syllabus, the key topics, and by utilizing specimen exams effectively, you will boost your confidence. Right, next, I'm going to focus on building that strong technical foundation. And how do you do this? You engage with study materials in order to understand those core concepts and you must take comprehensive notes. Don't just read, don't just highlight. I know that seems like the easy option and your mind tells you that you are studying, but you've got to really learn. So to learn means to gain knowledge or skill by studying, okay? And studying means to read, to memorize facts. So when you study something, you have not learned it yet. So bear that in mind. And studies do show that there is a connection between your hand and your brain. So by actually making your own notes, you are reinforcing what you are studying and you are taking it in, you are learning it. So don't just read and highlight. It feels good. And I know you open your book and you can see you've read all of these pages or you've highlighted all of this, but do take time to make your own notes. Okay, so engage with the material. So don't just flip through it and read it. Engage with the study materials, the textbooks, the study guides, and focus on truly understanding the fundamental principles and theories of each topic. So aim to grasp the underlying concepts rather than just memorizing facts, because you may find it useful. You'll be required in the exam not just to regurgitate these facts, and you'll find it useful when you're trying to grasp the concepts, to relate them to real world scenarios, because that's going to make the material more relatable, more relevant, and easier to remember. Another key tactic, as I've mentioned, is taking comprehensive notes. So not just, highlighting as I've said, but writing them down. So what do you write down? You write down the key concepts, you write down formulas, you write down the principles, and you don't just copy it verbatim from the book, you put it into your own words. So how would you say this? How would you remember this? Because these notes that you make at this learning phase are really going to come in valuable when you get to your later revision phase. So use headings, use bullets, use diagrams, use mind maps or spider diagrams, use highlighters, whatever works for you and whatever is going to make it easier for you to remember. Right, so how do we reinforce this learning? So the Study Hub chapter quizzes can help with your learning because they allow you to immediately apply what you've learned. So at the end of each chapter, and you can see highlighted there, you will find quiz. So this will help you to check what you've learned, to reinforce your understanding, and help you to retain what you have learned. When you do these quizzes, they will highlight, what you've got correct, and the answers that you've got incorrected will also be highlighted. And of course, these are the areas that you will need to go back and have another look at. So use these quizzes to identify any knowledge gaps. And by taking these on a regular basis, you will be able to identify which topics you do not fully understand and focus your studies, apply additional time to those areas. So, of course, needless to say that completing these quizzes successfully at the end of each chapter will boost your confidence, because you're going to think, okay, I've learned this, I can recall it, and it's going to boost your ability to recall it in the exam. So remember, what we're talking about here is building that strong foundation. And that takes us on to point 3, the third stage. So once you have the basics down, once you have that foundation, it's time to deepen your understanding. And this is where you will start to explore complex topics. You will dive deeper into topics. So focus on understanding the more intricate and detailed aspects of each topic. You will start to make connections between different areas of your syllabus and start to integrate your knowledge. So understand how these different areas interrelate. Now, this holistic understanding will help you to see the bigger picture and consider how these various concepts are applied together in real world scenarios, because that is going to really help you as well. Of course, you will then need to go on to apply your knowledge, and you will need to practice questions. So take questions that require a deeper analysis, more critical thinking. Look at these scenario-based type questions to really understand how to apply theoretical knowledge to practical solutions. And this is where we refer to the chapter practice questions. So as I've highlighted on the slide, you will see on that summary page, you can access these chapter questions. Now, what we're not trying to do is be passive learners, okay? So by engaging with these questions, we are encouraging active learning, okay? Because this is the skill that is going to allow you to deepen your understanding of a topic. So active learners, what does that mean? It means that you will gain knowledge through experimentation, through application, through question practice. So these chapter practice questions allow you to actively apply what you've learned and reinforces your understanding to help solidify these complex concepts. Again, you can use these to identify any gaps in your knowledge and therefore go back and review those areas. But also, importantly, at this level, you can start to develop exam technique. Remember, we must have that end goal in mind. And so regular practice with these types of questions that start to integrate your knowledge will help you to develop the skills needed to answer different types of questions in the exam effectively. It's going to help you with your time management, because you will start to practice these questions under timed conditions. And I'm going to talk about that a bit more later on. But again, it's all about boosting your confidence, because going into that exam, most of the battle is going in with that I can mindset and not feeling defeated before you even start, you click start on your exam, but knowing that I have prepared, I have practiced, and I deserve to pass. And you only get that by building your confidence and practicing your exam technique at every stage of your study. So these questions will, these are more longer form questions, and they will help to reinforce your learning. And you will find that these questions are self-marked and the answers are provided, so you can compare your answer to the suggested solution to ensure that you fully understand. Okay, so moving on to stage 4, revision and question practice. So in this phase, you will need to consolidate your learning through revision, through extensive question practice. Not extensive rereading of the text, but through extensive question practice, because this is going to help to reinforce your knowledge. It's going to improve your exam technique. Now, notice it is revision and not first vision. So you cannot get to stage 4 if you have not completed the prior stages. So revision generally means revisiting content. And this is with a view to gathering more insight. So whatever technique you use for revision, flashcards, you may go for when you're actually revising, you may use the popular Pomodoro technique. Whatever technique you're going to use, question practice is essential. And you should, by now, at the revision phase, be practicing questions that cover multiple syllabus areas. So thorough revision involves going over your comprehensive notes and summaries that you made while you were learning, and focusing on the key points, the key concepts that you've noted down, and moving on to more and more complex areas, focusing more and more on things like time management, exam technique, and you will get to, ultimately, you will be, practicing full exams and not just these short questions. So how do we incorporate and what do we use at this revision and question practice phase? So practice exams, past sample exams, all available on the practice platform in the catalogue. And then you've also got practice questions which are available in the study hub. Now, engaging with these content will help you in a number of ways. It's going to reinforce your knowledge and your ability to apply the concepts that you have learnt. The more you practice, the better you become at recalling and applying information accurately and quickly. We know that, you're under time pressure in the exam, and so you've got to practice being able to dig that information out of your toolbox real quickly, apply it, and answer questions. It's going to help you to practice your exam strategy, improve your exam technique, and you're going to become familiar with the different types of questions that you might encounter in the exam, and in doing so, improve your ability to handle them effectively. More benefits, you will learn how to structure your answers. So especially for these longer form questions, the constructive response questions that you face at Apply Skills, or even if you're a strategic professional student, it will really help you learn how to structure your answers to maximize your marks and meet examiner expectations. And practicing under exam-like conditions helps to reduce anxiety, because it's going to make you more comfortable with the questions, with the exam format, with the interface, and with the timings. And once again, you're probably tired of me saying this, it will again boost your confidence. So you will go in feeling prepared and capable to handle the actual exam. So Study Hub and Practice Platform are invaluable resources that provide targeted question practice in a simulated exam environment to enhance your preparation. Right, moving on to the final stage of preparation. So as the exam approaches, you will focus on mock exams, on full exams. You have practiced at every stage of your studies, and now you are simply going to fine-tune your exam strategy. And this is to ensure you are fully confident with the material as you go into the exam. Now, one thing I will say in relation to mock exams, you should never wait until you are ready to take a mock exam. And why is that? Because you may never feel ready. Okay, now let that sink in. We are often so hard on ourselves and we expect to have everything under our belts before we take a mock exam. And that is not the way to view this. Now, you should aim to take at least one mock exam, but hopefully up to 3 mock exams, if not more, to simulate the real exam environment. And think of it as your final stage of getting ready for the final exam, because we're not getting ready, we're not going to feel ready to take a mock exam, but we're going to do it anyway. Why? Because it's beneficial, because it's going to help you get more focus, and all those benefits of question practice that I've previously mentioned are all rolled into one. You may never feel ready to take a mock exam, and that is perfectly fine as long as you do it anyway. I know as a student, I never felt ready to take mock exams, but what I always told my students, it's okay to fail your mock exam because it's part of the journey, and you're going to learn from doing the mock exam and reduce your chances of being unsuccessful in the real exam. So see it as part of the journey, as part of the training. Now, once you do your mock exam, you can analyze your performance, you can identify areas for improvement. Now, in order for you to do that, you cannot take the mock exam the night before your exam. Now, we have the practice platform, we have all the data, and we know that this is sadly a habit of many students, taking the exam a day or 2 before the real exam. That is not going to be beneficial because you do not have time to analyze your performance, you do not have time to identify and improve on those weak areas. The only thing that is going to do is add to your anxiety. And that is not the way to go into the exam. So do aim to take your mock exam, 7 to 10 days prior to your exam so that you've got time to work on improving those areas. Ideally, it's 2 weeks, but I'm going to be realistic with you and say aim for at least 7 to 10 days. So these mock exams, these are full exams, so you should be attempting them under exam conditions and timed conditions. Okay. We do release pre-session mock exams 2 to 3 weeks prior to your exam, so you've got enough time to practice these questions. And we also release accompanying debrief videos. So you will find these pre-session mock exams on the run-up to your exam session on the practice platform, and you will find the accompanying debrief videos on our YouTube channel. Now, hopefully you are all subscribed to our Student Study Support YouTube channel. If you are not, then you will find the link in the resources. But doing these mock exams under exam conditions is key. We do not audit the answers of questions when we're practicing questions. It is so easy to read through the question and think, oh, okay, let me just have a look at the answer. And you look at the answer, you think, yeah, I'd have said that, I'd have done that, I'd have done that. That is easy. But can you do it in the time expected in the exam? And you will only find that out by actually attempting to do these questions under exam conditions, so silence, and also putting up that timer on. So 1.8 minutes per mark is your guide as to how long it should take you to answer a question. So why is this so important, and why do we put so much effort into ensuring you have a mock exam every session? Because we know that doing these mock exams will help to reduce anxiety. because you're going to familiarize yourself with the exam environment, the timing, and the pressure. And you will become more adept at managing your time and staying focused during the actual exam if you have done mock exam previously, because this is like, okay, it's another exam. Yes, we know that this is the real exam, but you will have done a number of mock exams, hopefully, and therefore this will be another exam. It's going to help you to have more targeted revision in the run-up to your exam, because your mock will highlight areas where you struggle or where your understanding is incomplete, and you can use this feedback to focus your final revision efforts. So remember, don't leave it till a couple of days before. And of course, you're going to practice. What is your exam strategy? Which section are you going to do first? Are you going to go straight for section C, or are you going to do section A if you're at applied skills and get those all out of the way? It's going to help you to really develop your strategy and refine your exam technique. And this will ensure that your responses are clear, concise, and you will meet the examiner's expectations. So do take time to engage with these mock exams, because they will help you to mentally prepare for the challenges that you will face in the exam. And, you know, again, I can't emphasize enough the importance of doing these under exam conditions to ensure you're well prepared for the environment you will face in your exam. So if you are a user of our mock exam content, can I see a heart emoji? If you use the debrief videos, then give me a thumbs up emoji. And I'm hoping to see my screen flooded, because this is a resource you cannot afford to pass you by. Okay, so engage with the resource. It's great. I can see heart emojis, thumbs up emojis flooding in. That is absolutely wonderful. Right, I want to leave some time for questions as well, because we had some questions in previously. But one new resource that I want to highlight is our exam verbs resource. Now, when answering an exam question, it's really important to consider the question requirements carefully, as this will ensure you understand exactly what is being asked. Now, each exam question will have a verb, and we highlight some of the common question verbs used in exams in this new resource. Now, this new resource can be found on the ACCA Student Study YouTube channel. Now, if you have already engaged with our verbs playlist, can I see, let's have another heart emoji or a confetti emoji. Let's see how many of you have actually found this resource, because this is a great source for helping you to understand how you should approach those longer and constructive response type questions. So this is a new exam verb playlist on the YouTube channel, and these are nice, short, concise videos. So they're short and they clearly explain what is expected when faced with the question verbs. So if your question asks you to discuss, what does that mean? To explain, what does that mean? Great to see the hearts emojis and the confetti emojis going up. If you have not yet engaged with this, then do go and check it out, because I think it's really going to, you know, give you that eureka moment when you fully understand, right, what do I have to do when I'm asked to assess in the exam? So just to mention that there. Right, so to sum this up, tips for effective question practice. First thing, consistent question practice. So regular question practice is key. From the very start, you should integrate question practice into your daily study routine. You should always aim to cover the technical content, followed by practicing questions on the related area, because this is how you will embed and reinforce what you've learned. The next thing is to review and reflect. So after attempting questions, review your answers thoroughly. And note I said after attempting questions and not before you attempt the question. So do not audit the answer first, because by reflecting and reviewing, you're aiming to understand not only the rationale behind the correct answers, but also to learn from your mistakes. So, for example, with objective response type questions, you should aim to identify why the incorrect options are indeed wrong. And that is going to help to further, reinforce your understanding. Timed practice. Practice under timed exam conditions, because this is the only way to improve time management skills. Now, I understand that you don't necessarily always have time to do a question in full, but you should be aiming to do at least one question. If you're doing 2 questions, then at least one of those questions, and I'm talking about the constructive response, so the longer questions, at least one of those questions should be attempted in full. And the second question, let's say, could be attempted in, you could note down the areas that you would discuss and what you would expand on. But under timed conditions, this is so important. We know exams are time pressured, and the only way to prepare yourself properly is to simulate the time pressure that you'll face in the exam. So this is the only true way to prepare for that pressure you're going to face. And finally, seek feedback. So if possible, get feedback from your tutors. If not, then get feedback from your peers, so form your study groups. Get them to mark your answers, because that will also give an indication as to how clear you are in explaining your point. So especially for these longer written questions, because it's really going to help you to refine your answers and ensure that you are communicating what you intended to communicate in your answer. Right. Moving on to questions. I hope you have found that useful. I can see that we've had questions coming in to the Q&A, and we also had some questions submitted in advance. So when you registered for the webinar, you were given the option to submit questions in advance. And so we've also had some questions submitted in advance. And we found that some of these questions had some common themes. So, and I can see from the Q&A box that a lot of these questions are following these common themes. So I'm going to address some of these. Okay, one question we've received: some exam questions are often too lengthy for the time allocated. What tips can I apply to ensure I answer them effectively and in line with examiners' expectations? Okay, so this is talking about the time pressure that you will face in the exam. And sadly, it is just how it is. So there's no denying that you will experience time pressure in the exam. However, the key thing to keep at the forefront of your mind is that, first of all, you're not expected to produce a perfect answer. Why? Because there's no such thing as a perfect answer. Now, the answers that you see when you're looking at solutions provided to past exams, mock exams and specimen exams, etc., are suggested answers. And examiners are not expecting students to produce an answer equivalent to the suggested answer in the exam, because you don't have time. So first thing is to remove that high level of expectation that you've placed on yourself. Now, I always tell my students that, your focus is on gathering as many marks as you can in the time allocated for the question. Now, if you're able to obtain full marks in that time, then great. But realistically, I would suggest you aim for, anything between half and 2/3 of the marks that are available. Those should be easy enough to obtain in the time allocated for that question. And once your time is up, you move on. Don't think, another 2 minutes. Remember, those later marks are going to be so much more difficult for you to get than the first few marks on the next question. So make a note. If you've got time at the end, you can come back and, pad that out. But move on when your time is done. What was the other part of the question? Tips to ensure you answer the question in line with examiner's expectations. Tip number 1 is to answer the question asked and not the question you wanted the examiner to ask. You know, we've all been in exams where, you know, we see something and we think, oh yeah, I've learned all about this, and we start to answer the question, but it's not what the examiner's asking. So, you know, don't just zone in on that word or the phrase and start writing everything you know about the topic. Another thing is we see the examiner ask to discuss 4 points, and you discuss 5 points. Remember, your last point is not going to be addressed. So, you know, it's not going to be marked. They ask for 4, they will mark 4. So don't waste your time. Rather spend a minute to get your best 4 points and write about those. So ensure you start the question by reading the requirements, okay? Before reading through the information, so especially if this is a scenario-based question, read the requirements first, because this will help you to engage your active reading skills as you read through the scenario and the information in the question, because that is going to highlight what you will be looking for as you read through the question. I think that was tip number 2, wasn't it? So tip number 3, take note of the exam verb. Yeah, I mentioned this just a second ago. So if you're asked to discuss an issue, then be sure to discuss and not just to describe or to list the features. So it's critical that you go into the exam with a firm understanding of what the verbs mean. And in order to do that, you simply can watch our verb playlist. And I think the last tip is practice questions to time. 1.8 minutes per mark. It's going to encourage your brain to recall what you've learned quickly. You'll get used to structuring your answers in an understandable format. You'll get used to the time pressure. You'll get used to moving on when your time allocation is up. So it's really going to be beneficial if you practice questions to time. So hopefully that addresses your question. Okay, are we just going back to the Q&A? Let's see some other questions that were asked. Do I have to pay for the mock exams? No, the mock exams are free. So there is no extra charge for these pre-session mock exams. There is no extra charge for the debrief videos. They are freely available. How do I kickstart my studies after a long break? What steps should I plan? And what would be more useful, Study Hub or Practice Platform? My answer to that is, why do you feel you have to choose? Both of them. We shared stats earlier, or I shared stats earlier, so you can see the benefit of engaging with both of these platforms. The stats clearly indicate that to maximize your chance of success, you should be engaging with both platforms. So that's the first thing. It's not an either or. How do you kickstart your studies after a longer break? So step 1, book your exam. Okay, commit. Now, once you've booked your exam, develop your study timetable accordingly. Don't wait until you are ready to book your exam, because remember, as a student, this ready feeling is so evasive. You may never feel it. So book your exam. So decide today, I am going to take this exam in December. Book your exam. Schedule, set up your study timetable. So when are you going to study? What days are you going to study? How many hours are you going to study? When are you not going to study? Because, you still have a social life. So we want to find that balance. So how to get back into it after a long break? Book your exam, set up your timetable. Next, make use of the free resources available. So we've got the Study Hub. Now remember, once you get into the Study Hub, you will be able to access, all study resources. So if, for example, you are doing SBR, you can access FR. If you're doing FR, financial reporting, you will be able to access financial accounting. So if, for example, you are starting with financial reporting and it's been a while since you looked at financial accounting, then use the Study Hub resources to brush up on your foundational financial accounting knowledge. Now, one resource you can also use is the Get Ready modules on the Student Virtual Learning Center. And I'm going to ask the team in the back end to drop the link for that in the chat, because our Get Ready modules test your foundational knowledge and helps you identify any gaps you may have. So this is really useful if you are looking to restart your studies after a break, or if you are progressing from applied skills to strategic professional level. So if you're moving on to SBR and you think, oh, there were some things from financial reporting that I can't really remember, then you can use this resource in order to kickstart your studies and to identify any knowledge gaps. And the final bit of advice is engage with both Study Hub and Practice Platform as outlined throughout this webinar. You know, populate into your timetable, your study timetable, what chapters, what questions you will be looking at when. And this will ensure that not only do you get full coverage of the syllabus, but that you also incorporate adequate time to practice questions. I can see that we are getting to the top of the hour. So maybe one more question. How to overcome anxiety during exams is another question. Quick answer for this. Ensure that you use the time ahead of your exam to prepare and take time to relax. Okay, so as you get up, not just the night before, but in the run up to your exams, get good sleep, get good nutrition, keep hydrated, stay focused. So say no to some of the social engagements the week before your exams. They will all be there after your exam. But believe me, good sleep, nutrition, hydration does help a lot. And find your way to get rid of your nervous energy. So this could be going to the gym. This could be engaging with sports. This could be dancing around your place to loud music. That was my way to get rid of nervous energy. The neighbors must have been very annoyed while I was studying. But it's about finding whatever works for you. Another thing I would say is get used to answering questions under strict exam conditions. So even if you're doing a question from another book or another source, you can use the blank workspace on the practice platform to simulate the exam environment. So get used to typing in the word processor and using the spreadsheet. So if you're only going to face the exam environment in the exam, then yes, you will have anxiety. Get used to it prior to that, and you will be able to sail through. Sadly, I think we are out of time, but I just want to leave you with one quote from the legendary American football coach, Vince Lombardi. Practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect. So take time to engage with question practice, and that is your best form of preparation for what you will face in the exam. Okay, so that is it from me. Martin, I'm not sure if you are still there. Do you have any closing comments for our students today?
Thank you, Sonia. Yes, I am right here. I've been listening through the session, and thank you so much for your great insights. Thank you so much for your practical tips. I must say I highly resonate with everything that you've said, because I have been an ACCA student until recently, just early this year when I finished my exams. And everything that you've said resonates quite well with myself. So the only thing I would emphasize on is it's okay not to feel ready, but you can feel not ready, but still be prepared. So preparation is the key. And you've given all the tips and highlighted the key resources for that preparation. So I hope everyone who's been listening will take note of that and make use of the resources. So thank you so much for sharing your insights in this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and staying on. As we had mentioned, in case you'd like to listen in again to this great session, that will be available on demand. Look out for an email tomorrow with a link on how to access that. If you'd like to check any of the links we have mentioned, head over to the resources tab or button on your screen, and that should contain those resources over there. Please do check out our social media channels. We've shared the link for the YouTube channel. We've got a Facebook page, and we do share some of these updates on those pages. Also, to remind you to always keep checking your emails, because the invites for these webinars and other sessions do come through your email. So keep an eye on your emails, and do engage with us on our resources. That having been said, I think it's time to bring it to a close. Thank you so much, everyone, and best of luck in your exam preparation. Thank you, and goodbye for now.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck and goodbye.